Okay, I'm Mike, I'm introduced already. This is Florian, and we're here to talk about a project, a tool that is going to change the shape of the internet and your lives. So it's called Superglue. Superglue is a tool we've presented a few months ago already, and it changes the way to produce, to host websites, and it also changes the way that we work, or the visuals of the internet of nowadays. So, Florian.
Yeah. So what was really the point of departure? Actually, this project is quite old because it had a precursor, but the real precursor, the very first precursor, were the very first homepages of the World Wide Web, and they looked like this. I mean, those of you who still lived in the 90s, they might have remembered websites like this. And what not only we thought is that a lot of creativity has gone lost. You know, we have much less crazy visual stuff on the web than in the good old days. And the real beginning of this project was we want to empower users again to create these kinds of sites.
Also, in the old days, you had home pages, and home pages that were pages that had a door, and you would knock on the door or click on enter, and then you could enter somebody's arena or somebody's area that he has completely developed in HTML and has its own colors and its own typography and its own GIF animations, and it all has disappeared.
And we can also talk about the technical side of things. This was Access for All in Amsterdam in 1993, and this is Rob Gongrijp, for those of you who know him. So it was also hackers and decentralized, kind of messy, chaotic technology initiatives that brought the web actually to the people. And well, the reality nowadays is different.
Yeah, nowadays everything is in the cloud, and all your data belongs to just a few companies that run the web. And you don't know what they do with your data. You just click on the license agreement that you agree on, and then in January they send you an email. We've changed our privacy policy. Point 1, point 8, point 7.3 is changed. Have a read, and you go like, yeah. But another thing that has changed in the internet is the whole visual culture has changed. There's been scientific research going on. If you put a button there, it works perfectly, and people are used to go click, 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 click. And this color does work, this color doesn't work, typography. So it has become a scientific instead of an aesthetic, personal, and artistic way to show yourself.
Yeah, and this was the precursor of Superglue. Hot glue. This was something that we had developed with Danya Vasiliev, who's the brains behind both projects. And how long is this ago?
I think it's 2007 or 8. Yeah. And the idea behind Hot Glue was we have to give people a tool where they can just create a website without having to know to code. And also the idea of Hot Glue is you have a CMS or a content management system, you fill in data, then you look on your website, is it looking pretty enough? But we thought we have to develop a new kind of tool. It's not what you see is what you get, but with you win. What you see is what you have. And what Hot Glue does, it's really simple. This is my personal Hot Glue page. You just add edit, and you go to the edit mode, and you just can click and add pictures, etc., etc. And there's now about 7,000 Hot Glue users, and they make the most websites. Look, they do really funky stuff. Wow. I'm just clicking a few. This one was good, I think. And here you see again that people have their personal style of web development and look and feel. And you don't have just a screen, you just have a canvas, a studio, video, audio, blogs. So Hot Glue is now used, and it's not only used by people to have a personal web site or a portfolio website, or there's carpenters that have cabinets built with wood, and you can just have a look. But it's used have mock-ups, so you could have done your content creation in hot glue, and you would have a site. Don't use Tumblr. Tumblr is by Yahoo. So, but at the end, with hot glue, we had, well, it's the most dramatic end-user license agreement in the internet, but we had to do it, and we had problems with hosting, and last weekend the server went down, and we are just texting, we're not different than Google, actually.
Yeah, we have, let's say technically we have the same problem because hot glue is on one server, and it's the server that we run. So in the sense, we might be more sympathetic than other .coms, but in the end, structurally, it doesn't solve anything if people still leave all their data and all their stuff on one central server run by one organization.
So that's why Daniel with Superglue. We are going to skip the film, eh? Yeah, we just talk. You can see the film on superglue.it. Tell about Superglue.
Yes, and Superglue is actually based on the same ideas as hot glue. So you have a visual interface for creating your own websites, but the big difference is there's no more a central server. The main idea is that people run their own servers at home. Here we see the interface as it looks right now. So there is basically two sides of this. There's a visual authoring tool, and that runs in the web browser of people. So that you install it as a plugin for Firefox or Chrome, and then you basically get a visual environment, and you get your personal server. And the personal server is this here. And actually, it's just a box that you can buy for €25 at MediaMarkt. And then you flash a different firmware on it. And it's originally meant to be a router, but then it turns into a full-fledged web server. And I think it can handle up to 1,000 connections at the same time.
At the same time.
Yeah.
So do it yourself at home. Here is the browser add-in. It's really easy to install. It's just a one-click thing. You click on that, and then it becomes a canvas. And hot glue, if you look at hot glue websites, they really look a bit the same, but here there's a lot of fonts and other funky stuff. There's an explorer where you can add files to. It's searching. You can change fonts, you can have borders, you can have shading, layering. Everything that you have in a design program is here. Let me see if I can find a really nice, here's the Superglue Gorilla. Let's take that one. And here's the Superglue Gorilla, people. There he is. So it's really easy to make a website. So what Superglue does is it gives you a tool to design, but it also gives you a tool to host the website. So we try to make it easy to host it and design it without using servers or without using templates or because every web designer nowadays has become a WordPress customizer almost. So this gives people the power back again to build their own websites.
Shall we go back to the presentation?
Let's go to the presentation.
So all you do when you use that interface is that you hit save, and then it automatically gets stored on this box on your home network and then served from your home network. That also means you don't need a server. Yeah? You don't need any kind of internet provider apart from your home internet provider.
And if you go on a holiday, you just unplug it, take it home, and you're offline. So this is the team that has developed Superglue. It's really the brainchild of Danya Vasiliev, who's a media artist living in Berlin, doing really nice projects.
And he also calls himself a critical engineer and has been the co-author of the so-called Critical Engineering Manifesto. We recommend reading it. And he was also the co-founder of the Media Lab that we had at Worm. Now we have
1 minute to talk about all the problems that we have figured out.
Yeah.
Well, the road is really bumpy because you work with a really small team of artists that have different art projects going on. And then you start to become an internet startup. Yeah. Besides organizing concerts here in Worm, or besides doing expositions in Berlin, or besides being a tutor in a high school in Nuremberg. So normally there's a group of people and there's a venture capitalist and they say, I believe in this product, and they shove a lot of money into it and you have time to work on it. But we're just guys having a good idea trying to create a platform. And then if there's a bug,
we have a problem. And there was a problem with our first release. There was a severe bug in the firmware, which gave people trouble using this system. So our excuses for that. We are supporting it now. But let's say the big question for the future will be how can this community sustain itself? It's an open source project, so all the software is open source. It's also the server is based on Linux. But in the end, we are also giving these presentations because we hope that you are getting enthusiastic about Superglue and get involved.
Yeah.